All right, but his great triumph is Songs of Innocence and of Experience. This is a book of which only 28 copies still exist. Many of them are just not good condition at all. Um, I wanted to let you know that here in Austin, the Harry Ransom Center on UT campus, they have at least two of these copies in some of the tablets. The Harry Ransom Center is the HRC, and that this is like it's a world-renowned premier research library for the humanities. So they have these books, and I've actually been there to see these, the Songs of Innocence and of Experience, and it's just amazing to see it. It's like it would be like if you have one Picasso, you're great. But if you have an intact copy of Songs of Innocence and of Experience, it's like having a book of Picassos. It's really cool. When you go see them, they put them behind a glass case, and they they stand there and kind of scowl at you, and it say if you need a page turned, let me know. So they're real serious about it. But if you're interested in this kind of thing, check out the HRC on UT campus. It really is amazing. So the Songs of Innocence and of Experience is about the two dual states of the human soul or of human life. We have innocence and experience. It creates this duality of man, and it's like good and evil, happiness and despair. These two polar opposites that we feel throughout life, and you would I think you'll agree that he builds up to this idea that there are these two states, but in reality they come from also the same place, and they're not a duality at all. And we'll see that. So you can see some examples of how he would stamp the page and then go back and paint the page. And a lot of times he would paint them differently. Now, there is some talk of his wife having painted some of these, but there's really not a lot of substantiation behind that. Let's see how it's painted a little differently. This is the sick rose. Okay. All right, so we see in the chimney sweeper, the first chimney, there's two chimney sweepers. There's one in Innocence and one in Experience. In Innocence, the the little boy is sold. This is really awful. It's before, of course, child labor laws and whatnot. He is sold to the chimney sweepers so early in life that his mouth, he can't even say sweep. They would walk down the streets and call out to the people, does anyone want your chimney sweeped? But they would shorten that just into sweep, sweep, sweep. But the poor kid his mouth can't form the S sound, so he just says weep, weep, weep. So in that way, Blake puns on the poor child weeping and having to work such terrible hours. They used children so that they could crawl down into the really tight spaces and things like that. It was just a rough way to go. But the boy in the first version, in the Innocence version of the Chimney Sweeper, goes to sleep and he receives um, a prophetic image in his dream. So the boy is a mystic, just like Blake, and he sees an angel. And the angel comes, and the chimney sweepers are in their coffins, which is very symbolic. The angel comes and unlocks their coffins, and the chimney sweepers from that point on have this bliss, this wonderful bliss, and so it's sort of like this promised world in another place. So when Tom awakes, he's happy from that point on. He just feels like, okay, so there is a reward awaiting me, and so I need not worry about this harsh life that I have here. And that's in the innocence portion. Now, if you go to the experience portion, you'll see that the chimney sweeper, his parents have sold him into this profession, and meanwhile they're down in the church praying, and that shows you a little bit of Christian hypocrisy there. And the poor kid, he's really suffering, and his parents say, well, he's always he's always singing and everything, so he has to be happy, but he's not. And so this is really an indictment of the parents who have sold their child into this sort of life. In and also in Experience, we see the Clod and the Pebble. It's a very interesting poem. The clod is a dirt clod, and the pebble is a more beautiful thing. It's a a little rock, maybe shining. The pebble is in the stream. The clod is in of course, the ground where the cattle is trotting over it, and the clod says, "Love seeketh not itself to please, nor for itself hath any care." Well, the Pebble says, on the contrary, "Love seeketh only self to please, to bind another to its delight." This is the classic dualism of altruism and egocentrism. Some people believe that the definition of good is doing good for others, help others. Forget about yourself, get yourself out of the picture, go help others, and eventually it'll come around to you, and we'll live in a great world where everybody is just, we just rub each other's shoulders and be content. However, other people, and I dare say most people, would say that happiness, goodness, is treating yourself good to please yourself. So as long as I'm happy, that's the key. As long as I'm happy, forget about everybody else. They'll have to, do for themselves and suffer for themselves. As long as I'm happy, that is the definition of good. So this is altruism versus egocentrism, and I want you to think about that. It's an important concept. I would say that most people would say, yeah, I'm an altruist, but really, what are they? Really, really, really? Egocentrists, yeah. So they're at the mall with that plastic, charging it up, things like that. All right, so in London's one of his other very famous poems, talks about just that bad things happen, but life is really hell for those who cannot see the truth. And I think he's trying to say in this case that you can't see the truth because you can't open your mind to this other world of knowledge that I'm trying to explain and that Blake is accessing. But the really interesting poem to me, and the one that is most famous, and the one that I'm sure you have heard before, is the poem "The Tiger," spelled with a Y. He says, "Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer? What the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil? What dread grasp dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry?" Okay, so the tiger is this idea that we saw in Songs of Innocence. We saw the poem "The Lamb," and the lamb, of course, is the symbol for the Christian God and Jesus. But here we have, juxtaposed with that, we have the tiger. This is interesting to me because think about what a tiger does. Think about what it would be like to have a tiger after you and what it would do to you if it caught you. I mean, it would eat you. It would eat you just think about the teeth of a tiger. Think about those things just crunching down on your bones and your body. Well, the idea here is that tiger is also a part of nature. And most people would say, that's evil, that's awful, that's terrible. to kill another thing. But hey, that's how the tiger makes its living. That's what a tiger does. It kills and eats other animals. It is a predator. And it goes to say that God or whatever entity made the lamb also made the tiger. So they are both natural and both necessary. Did he who made the lamb make thee? The answer is yes. So this brings up this whole idea of the dualism of good versus evil. And I think Blake would say that good and evil are really just flip sides of the same coin, that they're mutually necessary, that they are symbiotic in their relationships to each other. Because I would think about it, could you have heroes without villains? Right? What would life be without mountains to climb? I mean, we're not life would be really boring if you were just locked in your house playing Nintendo or what do you have, Xbox all day. You'd get bored in a week, right? So we have mountains to climb. We have goals that we set and go after, and these things we see as hard in life, but they are necessary because you never experience happiness or success without overcoming great odds. Same thing with nature. We have meek, harmless things like the lamb, and then we have big, tough, mean, dangerous things like the tiger. And I think Blake is trying to say it's all part of one unified system. And good and evil, they are here. They are different, but they are in many ways the same. They are both natural, and that's kind of what this whole book is about: innocence and experience. So I started off saying that he shows us this dualism, but then narrows it down to maybe there's not really that much of a dualism at all. That they're, like I said, flip sides of the same coin. Now that doesn't mean that I want you to all go out and start lighting things on fire and torturing small animals or anything like that. My hope is that everybody chooses good, but I think that Blake might say that you need that in order to make this whole journey of life to make sense. And maybe he would say that life needs to be like a football game or something where you're always 2 or 3 or 10 points ahead, but the other team is a really good team and they're coming after you the whole time. That gives you this motivation to press on and climb those mountains. And I just want you to notice in the tiger that it's all questions. It's just a long list of questions, and they're rhetorical questions, obviously. Um, and if you were writing an essay about the tiger, I think you should key in on the diction and the imagery. So God in the tiger is this blacksmith. He's a craftsman. So there is a lot of fire imagery, burnt fire, seize the fire. Now we have the blacksmith or craftsman imagery, hammer, chain, furnace, anvil. So God is up there hammering out this thing, and when he gets done, it's a tiger. And that tiger is natural, is just as natural as the lamb.